If you are dealing with chronically early morning wakings, 5 a.m., it's just the worst, but you don't have to worry about it. I am here to help you with it, and I would love to fix it for your family. Hi, my name is Sarah Bossio, and as the lead certified pediatric sleep expert at Your Zen Baby Sleep, I have helped over 650 families get the sleep they need, and part of that is really working on establishing appropriate wake-up times for our babies, toddlers, and preschoolers so that your mornings can be nice, easy, and enjoyable. So let's talk about early morning wakings and how to make sure that we don't experience them. The first thing that we can look at when our babies are waking up early is what constitutes an early morning waking. It's important to remember that biologically an appropriate waking for most babies is sometime between 6 and 7 a.m., which can be a hard pill to swallow, especially if you're a first-time parent. Our wake-up time is a little bit later, and we are used to starting our days a little more slowly or having a lot of time to ourselves starting at 6 a.m. It's hard to have to get ourselves ready before our babies are up and really ready to go because we know they don't wait for anybody, right? So in my world, I really consider an early morning waking anything before 6 a.m. Anything after that, I consider pretty typical and appropriate, and we don't really need to do much troubleshooting in order to move the waking any further. If your baby is waking up before 6 a.m., a really quick and easy fix is just to make sure that your blackout curtains are working efficiently. So we want to block out any early light that is making it into the room, and then look at any other sneaky factors that could be affecting them in that 5 to 6 a.m. hour. Things that some parents don't consider could be, is there a street light that goes on that is making its way into the room that you might not realize or account for because you're not really in the room at 5 a.m.? Does your heat or AC turn on right at that time? Do you have a pet that wakes up at that time and makes noise and stirs your baby? Any of these environmental factors can really be within our control and can be quick and easy fixes to make sure that the baby has their best shot at continuing sleep during their lightest sleep stages. And speaking of light sleep stages, something that can help your baby continue in their deepest sleep or their non-REM sleep is using white noise. If you are not using white noise, please start to incorporate it into your routine and continue to use it throughout the entire night. It should not just be used at the sleep onset, it should be used throughout the whole night until the morning time. This can reduce the amount of noise that we hear in the outside environment, and you can play around with the positioning of the white noise machine. So if you are up at 5 a.m. getting ready for your day and could possibly think that maybe your noise is waking your baby, kind of like my husband used to do because he walks like a gorilla, then what I would suggest is putting the white noise machine either at the doorway, in between, right, buffering the baby's crib, white noise doorway, or at the wall. Let's say if it's a wall in between your room and the baby's room, just positioning of white noise can be really helpful in preventing the sound from getting to the baby's ears and really keeping them asleep for a longer period of time. I want to make sure that your baby isn't hungry in those early morning hours. So if they are still receiving night feedings and they are over the age of 4 months old, I am going to make the assumption without your pediatrician's recommendations, which you always need to follow 100% of the time, that they may not be hungry at 5 a.m. and a 5 a.m. wake up is not hunger related. However, if your baby is sleeping through the night without a night feeding, then I want to look at hunger and just making sure that we are feeding enough during our daytime hours and filling them up on what they need in terms of caloric intake with either formula, breast milk, and or solids if we are offering them solids. Especially if we are getting into the toddler years as our source of caloric intake switches to food. Sometimes our babies do wake up because they are just hungry, and making sure that we are feeding them protein-dense foods that are also nutrient-rich with healthy fats, balanced with carbohydrates, can be very, very important in terms of nourishing their system and making it through those early morning hours. My best tip for early morning wakings is bringing bedtime earlier, actually. And I know that sounds insane. It's like the opposite of what common sense would tell you, also the opposite of what your boomer parents are going to agree with, but there's science behind it. So Oftentimes when I have a family come to me or DM me, my baby's waking up at 5:15 every morning, and I say, what's the bedtime? 9 times out of 10, it's like 8:30, 8:45. It's way too late. At that time, anytime after 8 p.m., our baby's hormones actually flip. So they've been producing melatonin, telling the body to go to sleep, and at 8 o'clock, if they haven't slept, the body will say, gosh, there must be a reason why I'm not sleeping. They'll shut the melatonin off and they'll surge the body with cortisol and adrenaline. This is our body's awake hormone. It doesn't mean that our babies won't fall asleep, but it will mean that it'll be harder for them to stay asleep, or it will mean that it'll be harder for them to continue to sleep in those early morning hours because they didn't get the deep sleep in the beginning of the night. Deep restorative sleep in the very beginning of the night, and more of it, is the biggest indicator of a longer morning sleep, when our sleep quality is going to be in that lighter REM stage. So even if your baby is falling asleep at 7 or 7:30, and I love that bedtime, just experiment. Try pulling it back 15 or 30 minutes earlier. And try this consistently for a week or two. Changes aren't made in a day. And see if you can see if you experience any type of shift in those early morning hours to a little bit later. Finally, my favorite tip and my best tip, and the one that I work with families on one-on-one, is independent sleep habits. So if your baby is not falling asleep on their own at bedtime and is being assisted to sleep in whatever way, whether that's rocking or feeding or co-sleeping, they're going to have a hard time falling back to sleep on their own at 5 a.m. They're going to wake up and they're going to start their day because they've had a good chunk of sleep that preceded that. The best solve to early morning wakings is going to be teaching your child to do that on their own, to be able to transition those sleep cycles in the toughest part of the day, which is that 4, 5, 6 a.m. hour. This is not something that every family is comfortable with. It is not something you need to do today. Your child is brilliant and can pick up the skills whenever you're ready to teach them. But when you're ready, you can feel free to reach out if you need one-on-one support. This is exactly what I help families do, is work with them on the process of individualized sleep training to help them establish healthy sleep routines at night, overnight, and solve early morning wakings and establish really long and delicious naps. Are you experiencing early morning wakings? I would love to hear about it. So head down to the comments and leave me a question. Tell me what your biggest struggle is. And on your way, make sure that you leave a like so that I know that this content is helpful for you. And please subscribe to the channel. This is going to give you notifications when I publish my next video and my most helpful sleep content. As always, from my living room to yours, thank you so much for joining me today, and I can't wait to see you again next time.